As many of you guys out there know and have watched some of these CallShaper consults, we've been inviting lots of movers and shakers in the contact center world on to the CallShaper consult so that we can learn more about what they do and how they impact their clients around the U.S., but also around the globe. And so today I'm lucky enough to have Steve Newell with Cloud Consult joining me for just a little bit of a discussion about some of the things that he and his group at Cloud Consult do to really help customers create more efficiencies. And the cloud and SaaS and CCaaS, et cetera, are huge right now, but not every business sees value there. So I wanted to bring Steve on and have him talk through some of the things that he's seeing from clients and some of the stuff that he's making an impact with them. So with that, welcome, Steve. Great to have you.
Thank you, Alec. I appreciate the opportunity.
Right on, right on. So, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me about, what you do to help contact centers out there. So to kind of kick it off, tell us a little bit about what Cloud Consult does, who you help, et cetera.
Okay. So I started Cloud Consult 3 years ago, a little bit over 3 years ago. I've been in the telecom industry since 1985, so quite a long time. And have worn a lot of hats in sales and selling PBXs and cabling and circuits and everything else. So I've got a very broad experience in telecom. And right now, what I do is I serve as a broker. So I have different marketplaces comprising probably 500 different companies, AI companies, CCaaS companies, UCaaS companies, all kinds of different technologies. And what I do is I go to my customers and I find out, what is it that you need, what you're looking for, how do you want to grow, how do you want to move into the cloud, et cetera. And then I can go back to those marketplaces and I can kind of bypass the sales professionals and go right to the sales engineers and say, okay, so let's talk turkey here. What's really going to be the best solution for this particular client with these particular challenges or aspirations? And so that's what I do for my clients. I source solutions, and I also do consulting as well, because a lot of people, they want to know 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan out, especially with technology moving so quickly. How can I position myself to migrate my focus and get more technology into my stack and be more efficient and get higher revenue customers, et cetera. So I do consulting and I do sourcing.
Okay. Well, it sounds like, the process that you go through with these folks cuts out a lot of the garbage too, that the average consumer, these businesses, when they're looking to source a new technology, if they start from like nothing and they have to figure out, well, what solution do I want and what might be best for me and all those things, they then all have to determine, okay, well, what are the 20 or so companies that might fit that niche? Well, that might be 20 demos. That might be 20 salespeople that they work with. And of those, what do they end up with? Maybe 5 that are worth something. And that's taken them 3-4 months.
Right.
So it sounds like your process, talk about creating efficiencies for a business. You're cutting out a lot of wasted time, and then you're increasing that return on invested time so that they're not wasting it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of gotchas. I mean, it's one thing to do a demo with a company, and it's another thing to know the questions to ask, and then the follow-up questions to ask, so that there's no gotchas. Because, look, I'm a sales professional myself, but if I'm representing one company, well, that's what I'm going to pitch, and I'm going to talk about the advantages, but I'm going to shy away from why it's maybe not the most appropriate platform that you should pursue. And so I am very happy to be in this position where I can just be agnostic and say, look, this is a wonderful product. It's really not for you because of these reasons. This would be a better fit, So
yeah, so that you can act as that true trusted advisor rather than just, let me just throw this at the wall. And because this doesn't have a contract, you're safe, right? You're really taking your client's best interests at heart, almost, acting a fiduciary in a way.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fear out there. I mean, there's so many terms, AI this and AI that, and emerging technologies, and what's the other one? Disruptive technologies. what does that mean? And so, to kind of enable them to demystify things and say, okay, listen, AI is great, but specific to your application, these are the couple ways that it can be used. Everything else is just noise. It's just flashing lights.
Yeah. So what would you say are some of the top issues that you see, the people that are coming to you, what are they facing? What are they dealing with right now?
Well, I would say number one is the labor. It's getting much more expensive. I mean, I just returned from a show in Nashville, a 3-day show in Nashville for channel partners, and the consensus is that and it was said over and over that labor is by far the greatest cost in a contact center, and so how can you and not only is it a big cost, but it's very hard to find competent people. The market is shrinking, and so I want to expand by 20% this year. Well, can I hire 20% more labor? I can barely hang on to the labor I have right now, and my cost for that labor is going up as the minimum wage across the country is rising. And so there's a lot of focus on how can I offload some of the simple tasks from my agents to free up 10%, 15% of their time, and replace those simple tasks with automation, whether it be AI or just simple bots or simple IVRs or whatever, and and grow by 15% because I have the same labor force, but I'm becoming more efficient.
Right.
That's maybe the biggest thing, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, labor, I think, is hitting a lot of people in the wallet, but it's also hitting them in their business's abilities, right, to be able to drive forward, as you alluded to, right? If you're a business that wants to grow by 20%, but you can't add 20% more people because your people you already have are stretched too thin, and it's hard to acquire and get new good people, looking for those services and solutions that can augment or replace, in some cases, some of those drudgery jobs when available. Now, do you have systems like that you can offer to customers that, I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, there could be an IVR that does some of it here and some of it there, but are there other things out there that you've come across that have helped some of the clients with things of that nature?
I have. It's funny. I was talking to someone Friday. I had a consulting session with someone on Friday, and I was trying to, before the meeting, I was trying to figure out how am I going to explain to them in a very simple way what they're facing and what an opportunity to kind of turn the tables and pivot and go in a different direction, a better direction. And I made a very simple spreadsheet, and I one of the columns I put in, I said, this column is I'm going to call it revenue platforms. And they said, well, what's a revenue platform? And I said, a revenue platform is, you're on a platform right now where you don't have access to omni-channel. You can't do outbound dialing. You can't do outbound dialing campaigns. You can't do inbound and outbound IVR campaigns, which are agentless and very profitable. You can't introduce AI into your stack for those particular instances where it would be a benefit. So you have a technology stack over here that's really not going anywhere, but you have a lot of investment in it. You have licensing, you have all of your accounts in it. I get it. You don't want to just abandon it. It's a big, big job to migrate. So why don't you just get one of these what I call a revenue platform, which CallShaper I would define as a revenue platform, because you can do omni-channel, you can do outbound dialing, you can do dialing campaigns. I mean, those dialing campaigns are very, very efficient as far as how they use agents. And so, you can get this revenue platform and you can put it side by side. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be siloed, but hey, you got to move forward. And so as you put this revenue platform in place, and it has all these different features and opportunities to generate revenue, you just say, okay, what vertical can I get into first? Appointment setting, sending, SMS and emails, and then, on behalf of your doctors and dentists and so on and so forth. The next thing I can do, marketing campaigns for, we talked about HVAC places. In September, you can have all your HVAC customers be sending out text messages saying, "Hey, let's look at your heating, thing, and do an $89 cleanup on your, heating system." And so make sure that when it comes to wintertime, it's already checked out, it's already running at 100%, and you're not calling us and paying emergency weekend fees for, getting this done. And then do the same thing in the spring before summer hits, and hey, let's check out your air conditioning. And so campaigns like that generate a lot of revenue, but if you don't have the tool to do that, well, then you're on your back foot all the time. So, that's the solution I have come up with is trying to introduce revenue platforms alongside their current platform and just opening up new areas of revenue.
Right on. Okay, well, that's a great bit of advice for people. Is I think that some people get this mindset sometimes, like, well, I only want to have one system that does it all, and that unicorn doesn't necessarily exist depending on what you're asking that unicorn to do.
Right.
So you may need to silo some different portions of your business using different systems. And in many cases, that can create different levels of efficiencies, right? So I know what I can track in my outbound campaign from CallShaper, for example. But for my answering service, I've got really specific stuff that I do for, say, the hospitals in my network. And for that, I use Amtelco because that's what I've always used and I'm comfortable with it. Not to say that there couldn't be some blends down the road between those platforms, but at the same time, you're looking for ways to generate revenue, and sometimes that's not always simple, right?
Well, yeah, and it's funny. I was talking about how I prepare a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan. I really want to start calling it an 18-month, a 3 year, and a 4.5 year plan because, as you know, being in the technology field, technology doubles every 18 months.
Yeah,
it doubles every 18 months. So if you're saying, well, I'll put this off now for a year or two, and I'll get to it, and I'll wait for my vendor to develop this. And look, you can't wait anymore. You've got, things are churning so quickly that you're getting further and further behind. So if you get on one of these platforms, even if you're not using every bit of the platform, you're probably not using every bit of the platform you're on now. You're likely not. Okay. So even if you're not using every bit of the platform, you can get started. And those features that are dormant right now, as you master and this vertical, then you can go on to the next and to the next and to the next. And all of a sudden you're 5 years down the road and you've got a completely different business. It's wider, it's deeper, and those are the accounts that are the most profitable as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that can generate long-term return, recurring monthly revenue. And
Right.
That's what everybody's looking for, right? How do I increase my RMR over time?
Right.
So Steve, I know that a lot of your time and energy is spent in the answering service marketplace. So tell us some of the things that are going on in the answering service marketplace. What are some of the trends or issues that you see coming up amongst people in the TAS marketplace? What are they seeing, doing? What struggles are they facing? I mean, we talked about, manpower already, but what other issues are you seeing from the answering service space?
Well, number one is the labor. Okay. Number two, I would say that their services are, I'm going to say they're becoming more commoditized because it's taking a message, giving a message, so on and so forth. So their accounts are pretty vulnerable for someone coming in at a little bit lower price or whatever. And so you're losing accounts, you're gaining accounts, but it's just a constant churn. And so what they're really looking for are accounts that are more profitable, and also accounts where they can provide a unique service that a lot of their competitors cannot provide. And that's why I believe the introduction of what I call a revenue platform can really set them apart from other telefinancing services. And once you are penetrating your company, your clients' companies deeper and deeper, you're providing web chat services. You're providing you're dialing out. They're handing you 1,000, 2,000 leads a week or a day, and you're able to put them into a dialer and call them 8 times in a cadence, a 4-hour cadence of whatever, and they can be delivered to your agents. And that kind of outdialing campaign is phenomenal. Now, a lot of people can't offer that, and like yourself, CallShaper has got a great dialer, and so just that's the challenge, and it's such a new area for answering services to penetrate these markets. I think they see the opportunity, but they don't know where to start, and that's kind of why I was actually a few people in the industry a few months ago called me up and said, listen, you need to get back into consulting because people really they don't have a plan, and they need a plan. They need somebody who can see the big picture and say, all right, calm down, forget about all the fancy schmancy verbiage out there. Here's some basic things you could do right now to position yourself, and then begin growing from there. And that's why I added my consulting services just recently.
Okay, good. Well, that's great news because, I think, like you said, so many of these businesses, they've been doing everything the same way for a long time, and they've gotten very, very good at that, right? They know what's in their wheelhouse, but they also see, all right, there's opportunity on the horizon. How do I go and seize it? And they may not, because they've always gone this way, now they have to turn this way. They have to start thinking a little bit differently, right? Doing an outbound call campaign is totally different than running an answering service in a lot of respects.
It is.
But in a lot of respects, it's very similar, right? It's just how do you execute to be able to do that, right? And you're maybe doing sales versus service. And for some people, that's a hard mental switch to turn. But, I think it's important for businesses to know that they can reach out to you to get those kind of consulting services that aren't just about, oh, you want to look at cloud technologies. Great. I've got lots of options for you. Let's talk through what you're looking to do, et cetera. But more from that deeper and much bigger picture to be able to have that conversation with you. Okay, well, what are the trends? What's happening in the general marketplace of ideas and the marketplace of technology that makes sense for me as a business where I stand to give a shot at, right? Or to really commit to and then go great guns after it.
Right. The other interesting thing is, and we don't think about this as much, but we really need to, the customers that the telephone answering service is going to be serving is going to be very different 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. They're going to demand that they can enter into a contact center conversation in a lot of different ways. They want to text. They want to send an email. They want to do asynchronous conversations where they start a text and then they're working and then you respond to it and then they respond to it and then they are working at their job and then and it goes back and forth. And it doesn't have to be like, okay, I've got to drop everything and have a conversation. That's just not how they work now. And there's a lot of great features where these platforms can put things on a website. They can put an icon to say, call me now. They can have an icon that says schedule a call. So I know I'm going to be off at 4:30, and so I say schedule a call for 4:45. I'm driving in my car. I'm taking care of business. The call comes in. Yeah, blah blah blah, and I'm taking care of business on my schedule, and that's what they're looking for. And there's icons you can put on your website to start a video call. Hey, I want to pick up my cell phone. I want to walk around my car and show you the damage or show you the tree that fell in my house or whatever. This is what they're going to expect now. And you can say, oh, well, my customers aren't asking for that now. Well, your customers are, 50, 60 years old. They're not expecting that kind of service. But, my kids and your kids, That's what they're expecting. They don't pick up the phone. I call them, they don't pick up the phone. I text them, 2 seconds later, they text me back. Their phone is in their hand, they're not picking it up. I'm their father.
Right. It's crazy, right? But
Yeah.
I think everything you're talking about here, Steve, is exactly what's happening, right? The evolution of the CX landscape is changing every single day. And, the answering service is probably one of the greatest customer service modules within the entire marketplace, because they're serving a customer that's also serving a customer that in some cases is serving a customer serving, right, down the line. And if you make the right great impression as an answering service up front, and you can provide all the channels that those customers and their customers want to use, you become more valuable. And then you can charge more for that service, because I can bolt on these different things if and when you need a Mr. Doctor, Mr. Tree Service, Mr. whatever it might be, right? I want to be able to take in that video for Mrs. Jones showing me that a tree just landed on her house, and I want to be able to have that forwarded directly to the tree trimming company so he can say it and give a quote right back immediately saying, yeah, to make sure that that's taken care of safely, it'll be X. And that saves so much time, effort, and energy. Now Mrs. Jones can say, what a deal, hire them, right? And now they've got a deal on the books.
Well, the other thing that we really don't talk about, because telefinancing services never exploited this gift that they have, but think about it. They're ingesting a tremendous amount of information for their clients: name, address, telephone number, who's calling, why, et cetera, and so forth. And I find very few answering services pulling that information, putting it in some kind of comprehensive report, and sending it back to their client to say, do you realize that your clients, this is what they're asking, these are the questions that they're asking, these are the pain points they have, and this is what they're looking for, and so on and so forth. And you can partner with your clients using these reports, and you can make yourself invaluable to them. And once you start providing that kind of feedback and information back to them, where they can change their marketing, they can target different types of customers at different times of the year through different channels, et cetera, and so forth, and they're making money, look, they're never going to leave you.
Right.
They'll pay whatever they need to pay. They're never going to leave you. So.
Well, yeah, I think that's a huge thing to bring up, is that data is king, right? And I think you're probably right that a lot of answering services, they have all this data, but they've never really dug into it to say, what do we really have here? Mm-hmm. We've got a way to show this hospital that they're getting X amount of calls are regarding emergency services versus X amount are regarding kind of run-of-the-mill stuff. Well, could you better source your people at the hospital to deal with the emergencies if that's the problem? Is there an emergency? Maybe it's a doctor, maybe it's a physician's assistant, who knows, but that person is actually assigned to take live calls, to do emergency calls, to slow the amount of people that go to the emergency room or something like that. But also having that data for those, if it's a tree trimmer, for them to know, all right, I'm getting 100 calls for down trees during a storm, but I only get one a week otherwise. But I know that a storm is coming. Why can't I have my answering service proactively call the people that have reached out to me and say, hey, there's a storm coming. If you have a tree come down, we want you to know that we're available for you, and be ahead of the curve, right? And that's a revenue generating event right there. And you're probably not going to pay that answering service a whole lot to call your 500 people over the course of a couple of days. And in an answering service, if you're using your people properly, right, you may have agents that sit around twiddling their thumbs sometimes. You may not. But those twiddlers could be logged into a dialer and making calls, and while also being available for inbound calls.
Exactly. And it takes a revenue platform. I mean, look, this is what you just described is happening every single day in contact centers all across the world. Mm-hmm. They're trying to be super efficient. So they're they have it, oh, I've got agents that, aren't on a call. Let's send them an outbound call. Let's send them an outbound call. But you have to have a platform that knows how to do that and can be programmed to do that. So your agents are busy all the time. If you have an agent and they're 65 and they're on the phone 65% of the time, you're losing money.
Yeah.
And so how are you going to do that? And the other thing is doing a lot of these market outreaches via SMS. I mean, and you can get a platform where you can quickly send out an SMS. Just say, I know I'm in Florida and I know a hurricane's headed my way. Why can't I send an email, tree service, send a text out to a bunch of people saying, hey, do you have any trees that look like they're not going to make it through the next storm? Look, why not? Let's knock this thing out now. It's, before we start, having this thing fall on your house or fall on a power line and knock out power for a day. Let's look, you're going to have to do it. Why not do it now? And that's the kind of thing that it takes no agent resources. It's cheap, and it returns. What if you get a 2% return? That's a lot of money.
Yeah, so, and there are plenty of platforms that I know that CallShaper's linked in with that offer exactly that type of mass texting, where it can even be set up that text goes out, the person sees it, like click here now to talk to an operator, and bam, and it goes right into like CallShaper, for example. Yeah. And that live agent is answering the call and able to say, sure, I can set you up with Timmy's tree trimming right now.
Yeah. Yep.
And that, like you said, almost immediate revenue generating. So, So Steve, with all the different types of customers that you're working with, you talked a little bit about how you help consult and how you walk them through the process of looking at and discussing and determining what are the best software technologies for them. But, what other things do you offer and work with people to help them with and to really create those efficiencies?
I offer I do a comprehensive overview of everything in their business. From operations to their agents to their back-end IT departments and the third-party IT engagements. And I kind of look and see, okay, are you set up to be able to grow? I mean, you want to grow. Do you have the people in place? Because if you want to expand your technology, you may have to hire different types of people that you have ever hired before. So I talked to them about, look, here's a sober estimate of the kind of a team that you're going to need, because when you automate, we're taking a bunch of burdens off of the agents and making them more efficient. But there's a burden that goes on top of the IT department to program all that. It's just a fact, So you're going to need different types of people. And the other thing that I advocate for my customers is, look, there's a bunch of great telefinancing service shows out there, ATSI and Camex, and your vendor will have a user group show. That's all great. You need to get out to the contact center shows, the Contact Center Week, Contact Center World, Contact Center Expo. They're all in Orlando or Vegas or whatever, and start going to each and every one of these booths and talking to all these people and finding out what's out there. And then you go to lunch and you're talking to contact center owners or supervisors. And you are talking to them about, hey, what are you seeing out there? What are you seeing out there? What are you guys doing? What's next? What's new? And basically forming alliances outside of the telefinancing service world, out of the financing service bubble, because there's just so much great information, there's so much great technology, and these people are very hard-eyed. I mean, they're not chasing the fancy, blinking lights either, because they're very practical, pragmatic, cost center, contact center owners, and they're going to say, like, look, this over here is a bunch of nonsense. Here's what I'm focusing on, because this is what's making me money. This is what's saving me money, et cetera. And these are the kind of people I've hired to help me do it, and so on and so forth. And so I firmly believe it's time to really send your IT people out there and create new alliances and get familiar with the resources. If I were to hire, back end people, I would start looking for people with contact center industry experience rather than just telefinancing service experience, because you have to expand, and you got to bring that knowledge into your site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, be able to think outside of the bubble that you've been in, for sure. So, Steve, are there any results that you're comfortable sharing that you've had with any customers?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was just thinking about that. So I have this one client that has a bunch of law firms, and he's just taking calls for these law firms all the time. Calls. So it's all agent based. And so what we introduced for him, we're able to take that same script that the agent is going through: name, phone number, have you ever been to Camp Lejeune? When were you at Camp Lejeune? Were you honorably discharged? All this other stuff. And we're actually able to put it inside of a chat box right on the website. So basically they go in there and they type in their information, and it goes next. Can you confirm this? Can you confirm that? And when they hit the button, then two things happen in the background. One, a contract goes out, gets emailed to the email address that person put in there. And then two, a verification number is texted to their phone. And so they get the document, they open up the document in their inbox, and it says, okay, sign here. You got to digitally sign it, and then you can become our customer, and we'll work on your behalf. And to verify, you have to use this number that we texted you. So they pick up their phone, they look at the number, they enter it in, blah, blah, blah. So now this person is not only taking an inquiry, but they've actually signed up, and they've become a customer of the lawyer. And it's taken no agent interaction, and it's taken like 8 minutes, 5 minutes, less, And so he was able to offer that to their client, in addition to putting a couple of icons on his website saying, hey, call us now. If you're not comfortable typing in and blah, 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 call us now. And the call goes directly in. So there's no missed calls. There's no, I called you and you weren't there. It's they called the answering service. And so it's astronomically increased his customers' engagement with new clients, and they are over the moon with that. So that they're super happy with that. That's just one example. I got another example. I have a client who I have a product where it's a mass notification product, and all mass notification products, they work really well, but the only problem is, for an answering service, you have to get the information from your client, and you have to put it in yourself, and then then the information goes back to the client who clicked on, who verified their appointment, whatever. And so it's very labor heavy on the telefinancing service. Well, what's the point? I just traded, two nickels for 11 cents, big deal. So, but what this is one of the few products out there that I can set myself up as the master company, Acme Telefinancing Service, and then all of my dentists and doctors and so on and so forth. Well, all my customers that are using this platform to do marketing SMSs or appointment scheduling or whatever, or appointment reminders rather, I can set them up as sub companies, and I can train them to go into the platform. They only see their company. They upload their, I help them format their message. You have an appointment with, enter doctor's name on Thursday, enter date, enter time, so on and so forth. Please click here, to confirm. So I helped them set that up one time, and then they go in themselves and they put in their CSV file for the day, and then they get an automated report sent to them saying, these 75 people said yes, and these 25 people have not responded. So, what do you want me to do now? And so now it's totally automated. Now the burden's back on the office. They were going to send you the data anyway. It's no extra work for them to just go ahead and enter it into their own portal. So now they're doing all the work, and it expands your services. And guess what? Again, no agent labor. And so I texted him on Friday saying, "Hey, how's it going?" And he was like, "It is going so fantastic. Thank you for sending me this company." And I was like, "Great, awesome." So I'm going to be rolling that out to many, many more telefinancing services. But that's just two examples. And again, each one of them, zero agent interaction.
Well, as you said several times here, right? That is so critical for everybody. Cost of labor is so expensive. Anything that can help them, that makes sense, that's easy. Well, maybe easy isn't always the right word, but it takes not a lot of ridiculous heavy lifting to accomplish. Right, is important.
Right.
So tell everybody a little bit more about how someone that's looking for some support from Cloud Consult, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, there's my website, cloudconsult.cloud. Now, not .com. When I set up my company, I tried to get cloudconsult.com, but it wasn't available. And then he said, "Oh, why don't you use .cloud?" And I said, "Oh, that sounds so cool. I'm the consultant between the clouds, cloudconsult.cloud." I thought, man, that's so cool. Isn't that a great, I said to my wife, "Isn't that a great, buzzword?" And she goes, "It's horrible. Don't ever use that." So anyway, that's, you cannot need to trust your wife. But the funny thing is, I end up in the dustbin sometimes because I'm a .cloud, not a .com. So you live and learn. But anyway, cloudconsult.cloud. I have pages on all the solutions that I offer, and also a page on my consulting services as well. And by the way, my consulting services, I thought to myself, if you get all excited about, oh, now I'm going to get into appointment reminders, but I don't know how to market it. So I actually have created marketing campaigns for all these different verticals. So the telefinancing service, a lot of times you don't have or you have somebody that's doing a little marketing, or doing HR, and they're doing this or doing that. I mean, look, it takes a lot of time and expertise. So I've already created the copy. I've already created different brochures. You can try my contemporary or my, I have different flavors. So, and you just put in your own colors, and I put in your own colors and your own logo, and I created that for you. And so I've got a marketing campaign for them as well if they need it. So that's my website. And then I send out a lot of marketing emails about all the different solutions that I provide. And always on the bottom of all of my emails is a click my calendar link. And so they can always click the link and, grab 15 minutes or half an hour to, have an introductory call and get rolling. So.
Okay. Well, good. Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking some time to chat with me, Steve. It's been great. And, partnering with you makes things easy for us here at CallShaper. So we love it. And we want to get the word out for more people that are looking for, ways to get their business thinking outside the box, find and come up with new ways to generate revenue. Hey, if you're looking for that, reach out to Steve Newell at Cloud Consult.
Thanks very much, Alex. I appreciate the time.
You bet, Steve.